What is up, Earthnoids and Space Noids? I am just a simple new type, and this Christmas we are going to start the Mobile Suit Gundam War in the Pocket manga. I say start because the mangaka Hiroyuki Tamakoshi was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer and stepped down after only finishing 18 chapters. We will eventually cover the Ikehara Shigeto manga as this is completed, most likely next Christmas. In this episode, we will see the Cyclops team carry out a mission pre-Operation Rubicon. We will also be introduced to the Earth Federation Ground Forces Montana base, who gets a new pilot and a new Gundam. So let's get into this. Two masked men are torturing a young man. He notes that it has been 1 month since Makuve left Earth, but ultimately he no longer has any sense of time. An officer with an eye patch and a French bulldog shines a light on the prisoner. They want to know the location of Makuve's remaining mining bases. We recently re-released our Odessa video where we learned that Makuve's mining bases stripped Earth of a lot of its metal, which would allow Zeon to continue fighting for 10 more years, at least in terms of resources. He didn't factor in that you'd need soldiers to use those resources. Also, the proliferation of Luna titanium and titanium ceramic composite probably didn't help either. That being said, there are still many Zeon remnants out there, so they are surviving off of something. The soldier claims to just be an accountant that was promoted to major, which seemed to be just for show. He was the one cooking the books at Odessa, so he is very much a person of interest. He says that there are subdivisions of budgets that they wouldn't understand. He is tired of this game. EFF brings in some Zeon NCOs in front of a firing squad. They're going to play a little game. If you wondered how to tell Zeon non-commissioned officers from officers, it's the stupid black cape thingy. This is Caecilia's youth team, which we saw a little bit in Igloo Apocalypse. They are all underage soldiers. He says that from now on, for every minute that EFF's time the prisoner wastes, they will kill one of these child soldiers. One kid sigs at Zeon, and a firing squad shoots and kills him. 1 minute and another will be killed. He begs them to stop as they are just kids. The firing squad shoots another one. Some of the kids begin crying out for their lives. They shoot a few more and stop for the day. As the commander with the French bulldog leaves, the two masked soldiers continue their torture. However, one of the masked men snaps the neck of the other while he wasn't looking. He takes off his mask. It is Hardy Steiner, captain of the Cyclops team. He is getting the prisoner out of here. The prisoner yells at him for just sitting back while Zeon children were killed. He says to shut up or he will die as well. A Musai-class ship is orbiting Earth. The Komsai detaches and enters Earth's atmosphere. Piloting the Komsai is Garcia. Like in the anime, he also puts up pics of babes in his cockpit. Misha and Andy are on standby in their mobile suits. Misha begins panicking because he thought he forgot his lucky flask, but he eventually finds it and takes a swig. Like the anime, Andy is combing his hair. Once they enter into Earth's atmosphere, they are met with two core boosters. They fire Sarah, or semi-active radar homing missiles. The Komsai responds with anti-air turrets. They can't seem to shake the missiles. Garcia fires some flares. They detonate the missiles that do minor damage to the ship. The cargo on the Komsai is too heavy and slowing them down. Andy tells Garcia to open the hatch at the bottom and the top of the Komsai. As the core boosters fire off another round of missiles, a megaparticle cannon blasts through the top of the hatch and splits one of the core boosters in half. The other core booster heads under the ship, but Misha in his GOG uses his claw arms and reaches out to the core fighter, crushing it. Garcia releases Andy's Ram Zagok and Misha's GOG. The EFGF base spots the two on radar. They dispatch the defense team. The prisoner is starting to realize how important Makuve's mining base is. They prepare for their escape. The Ram Zagok discharges smoke screens and creates a tidal wave as they come out of the water. The gyms defending the base are caught off guard. The MSM-07 Ram Zagok is the product of perfecting the Zagok, which is considered the best amphibious mobile suit from Zeon. Even though it was considered the best, it still had one hilarious flaw. When Zagoks stab through ships, they tend to get stuck and end up becoming a casualty in the process. The iron nails were replaced with a spike shield, and the arms, shoulders, and backpack were modified. The spike shield acts as a buffer to prevent the unit from piercing too much. The spike shield also makes for a good close combat weapon. Other weapons include a heat ram and a megaparticle cannon like the original Zagok. The Hygog stabs through one GM and blasts through another. They are informed of this new unit that EFF seems unaware of. Type 61 tanks come to back them up. and he calls the gym pilots amateurs. Misha and the GOG is able to do some damage to the gyms. The Ramzagok comes in and they both double team the final gym, making sure to do a sweet pose in the process. Fires spread throughout the base. EFF goes to fight the fires. Steiner and the accountant prisoner run into 2 EFF soldiers. He throws a knife into one of the soldiers' eyes and shoots the other one. They enter into the facility the 2 soldiers were guarding. It happens to be the remaining Zeon child soldiers. While Steiner frees the soldiers that are alive, the accountant prisoner cries about the soldiers that are dead. Steiner ignores him. He contacts Misha. They are guarding the Komsai that landed on EFF tarmac and awaiting their next orders. They continue to push through when they are met with the base commander with the French Bulldog. This is straight up a Bond villain, by the way. EFF surrounds Steiner and the prisoners. Steiner says, "Watch out for the little one," referring to the dog. That is when Misha crashes through the building and slices through all the EFF soldiers besides the base commander. After this, Hooligans and Moon Gundam, these amphibious mobile suits with razor blade claws, have become the scariest and most menacing mobile suits in my eyes. Blood pours out everywhere. This is a pretty brutal manga. Steiner looks at the accountant prisoner. He cocks his gun and hands the weapon to him. Steiner says that he now has the power, but he must make the choice for himself. No one is coming to save the base commander. The prisoner yells out and shoots the commander. Blood splatters all over the poor French Bulldog. I can't show that panel. Garcia is sad to abandon the Komsai. They set it up to explode and they escape in a tiny sub. The GOG grabs the sub like a football and it and the Ramzagok make their escape. Once they get to a safe distance, they detonate the Komsai and the base goes up in flames. The remaining child soldiers are crying. The accountant's heart is beating like crazy. He wants Steiner to take the gun away from him, but he tells the accountant to keep it. Earlier, he told the accountant prisoner, "Once you kill, there is no going back." He says this gun is a reminder that there is no going back. He welcomes him to hell. The Cyclops team were nihilists in the anime, but this takes it up a notch. This team, or at least Steiner, is truly dead inside. What did he see during the 1-year war that made him this way, I wonder? EFGF Montana base. A commander and his underling is talking about an experimental Gundam. There is also a consecutive program being developed called the G4 Project. The G4 Project includes advancements such as the 360 panoramic monitor, the first of its kind, at the time of course. Other breakthrough technologies from the G4 Project include the first ball escape pod as well. This is all being developed at the Antarctic base, which the commander has his eyes on. The experimental unit will arrive from Jaburos soon, so one will be going to Antarctica and one will be going to Montana. The commander says he is being polite to General Cohen to appease Revel, who has about 2 weeks to live before being vaporized. A ground gym and a gun tank move out. The RGM-79G GM ground type was developed before any of Amado's data was integrated into the gym. Because of this, their battle data comes from the RX-79G ground Gundam that we saw in 8th MS team. It uses Luna Titanium and is said to perform better than the ground Gundam and can even surpass Grandpa Gundam under Earth's gravity, according to the Master Grade Instruction Manual at least. Unlike the ground Gundam, the gym ground doesn't have chest Vulcans. Also, the EZH shows that many parts of the GM ground and Gundam ground can be interchangeable, though it would remove the Luna Titanium, which gives it the upper hand. It is equipped with a beam saber, a 100mm machine gun, the 90mm bulb-up machine gun, a shield, and all of the other weapons that a standard gym can equip, which is quite a lot. This was also seen in Code Fairy as well. There is a Jeep keeping pace with the 2 mobile suits. They begin dominating on the Zeonic front. Margaret's gym and Chuck's gun tank are averaging a hit rate of 90%. This seems to be the team that will be inheriting the G4 project. The 2 get some rest. One of the gym's legs are destroyed and has to go. The mechanics call the gym pilot a prima donna. The gun tank gets out and tells the mechanics to get him schematics on the Alex armor. Alex stands for Armored Layers Experimental and is a special form of Shoban armor. The gun tank pilot is certain that they can defeat the enemy with Alex. He seems to be confusing the RX experimental line with the Alex experimental armor line. I think this was supposed to be a joke. Ha, ha, ha 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 ha. The mechanics begin fighting with the gun tank pilot. The soldier driving the Jeep earlier seems to be their commander. He tells them that they are getting a new pilot soon. A big boy mechanic named Rocky-san begins fighting with the gun tank pilot, and chaos ensues. Everyone at the base reports to the airfield to welcome the G4 project. A C-88 Medea lands at the base. They help unload the supplies, while the rest of the base welcomes General Cohen. Everyone notes that there is a woman with him. The base commander welcomes Cohen as well. He wonders if they have a a pilot in mind for this new Gundam. Cohen says that she should be tending to the Gundam now. Everyone gathers around the G4. The G4 is one of the G4 Project mobile suits. It is very similar to the NT1 but has increased Alex armor and a new large backpack. Weapons include a beam saber and a Gatling gun. Not too much is known about this unit, and considering the state of this manga, I doubt we'll get much. The pilot gets out to reveal that it is Christina McKenzie. The date is November 11th, UC 0079. The commander of this unit would have no idea what would happen a month later. We cut to a month later. This commander is running towards a downed Alex Gundam crying out for Chris. This is First Lieutenant Yuki Nishioka, and this is his account of the G4 program, the Cyclops team, and Operation Rubicon. Chris introduces herself and offloads G4. Along with Chris, the Argos team has come from Jaburo to help run training exercises. This team consists of Brad, Leo, and Gale. They are piloting DOMs. Many of the Montana team hasn't seen a DOM before. They seem to have a secret agenda while they are here. Lieutenant Yuki notes that this is a big show from Jaburo. In the hangar, Chuck talks shit to Chris. She grabs and pins his arm behind his back. She says that he will not survive on the battlefield. Chuck sorties in the G4. Chris tells Chuck to depress the pedal slowly, but he doesn't listen and slams down on the pedal. This causes him to crash through the hangar violently, thrusting into the air. Yuki and Chris chase after G4 in the M72 Lakota Jeep. I always forget there is an official Jeep in EFF, but it has literally been unchanged since the old century. Don't fix what ain't broke. The Gundam crash lands. Chuck mentions that it is much more powerful than a gym. The base commander tells Yuki to stop the training exercise. The Argos team notes that this base is full of idiots. They move in to retrieve the Gundam, but Chuck wants to continue. He shoots one of the DOMs. He says, "You're an idiot. We're done here." You know what? I'm gonna give this asshole what he wants. The DOM goes in to attack the G4 with its beam rod. Chuck uses the beam saber. The two bob and weave as they slice and stab at one another. The G4 is superior, but Leo and the DOM has technical superiority. Base Commander Bick demands that they stop the exercise at once. Yuki isn't getting a signal due to Minovsky particle disruption. Chris needs to get to G4. It has an AI designed to learn based off of the situation. These two idiots are engaging in real battle during a training exercise. The computer is going to learn to treat this exercise as a real battle and respond accordingly. Also, I think Yuki gets a boner while looking at Chris. As Yuki approaches the two mobile suits, Chris jumps out and runs up to the taint of the G4. Chuck wants to attack her. He flashes back to the one-year war where Zaku crashes into a building. It happens to be Chuck's family restaurant, killing all of his family in the process. Rather than get mad, he throws up instead. Leo apologizes to Gale for getting out of control. Yuki goes to help Chris. The base commander, Director Bick, is telling one of his men that Jaburo wants them to hurry with transporting G4 into space. They are scheduled for launch tomorrow, but there is a snowstorm coming in. They want to delay, but Bick demands there are no delays. Chris was able to finish the repairs on the experimental Gundam. Yuki brings her a drink. She tells Yuki that she was raised to do many boys' activities and to handle standing up to men. Chris mentions that she is from Side 6. She also mentions to Margaret, who I'm just now realizing is a woman, that G4 is good to go for the next exercise. The base commander meets with some of the higher-ups to discuss who will be the next pilot. Chuck talks to Gale and the Argos team. He wants another chance at being the G4 pilot. He even tries to bribe them with his family cannoli recipe. Gale and the others love it, but he tells Chuck that the higher-ups have already chosen a new pilot and there is nothing they could do. Chuck throws the cannolis out of anger. Aw, not the cannolis. Chuck goes to find Margaret. Yuki follows him and tells him to go back to his quarters. They head into the hangar to find Margaret doing something to a gym. Chuck heard that she will be the next pilot. He begs her to let him be the pilot. Yuki tells her to head out as he handles this. Margaret and Chris are the only two women on the base. The two shower. Chris asks Margaret what happens when a man tries to come into the female lockers. She tells her that she punches them. Chris offers her an ice cream. While they eat, a man tries to enter. Margaret proceeds to punch him. The next day, Margaret preps for her practical test. The test will start on ground level, then move to the mountain range. She will then engage with the DOMs and return to base. Margaret begins the exercise. Chuck is watching the exercise from afar, seething at the fact that he isn't the pilot. He keeps dwelling on the fact that he saw Margaret out at the hangar late the other day. What was she doing? He starts thinking that she may be a Zeon spy. Choppers and a dish go searching for the G4 after a blizzard came in and they lost contact. Oh snap, an actual story reason to talk about the Dish. Let's do it. The Dish is a patrol aircraft that focuses on high-speed recon. It is a giant flying radome with wings and a fuselage. It is so silly, and I love it. Its giant radome allows for long-range communication. It was originally an EWAX vehicle, but it underperforms under Minovsky particle disruption. Because of this, it was mainly used by EFF and civilian dignitaries. This was used by General Revel to travel to Belfast to meet with White Base crew in the original Gundam. They have been told to retreat and try again tomorrow, but the Dish picks up a heat signature. They found the G4's backpack. They weren't able to trace the footprints from the backpack. They think the Gundam may have slid into the lake. Yuki informs Chris that they found the backpack, but the search is suspended for now. Chris is very concerned for Margaret. It may be at the bottom of the lake. This causes Chris to panic because the prototype unit isn't airtight and she may be running out of time. That is when Chuck comes over and tells them that he thinks that Margaret stole the G4. They don't believe him. Chuck wonders why she was messing around with the gym the other day. The three use a lift to check out the gym. The chief mechanic is in the cockpit. He was going to use the gym to help out with the search party, but the system keeps rebooting. Chuck thinks it may be sabotage. Chris thinks it may be a virus disguising itself as an OS error. She wants to go help Margaret and goes to gather people to help her. Yuki is the only one that thinks this is all crazy. Chris asks the Argos team to help her, but Gail says that she is acting on her feelings. She decides to go it alone. She puts on a jacket. You don't want to put pants on? Just going to rock a skirt and a jacket during a blizzard. Alright. She gets into what she calls the Land Battle High Performance Zaku designed specifically for mountainous areas. But it is a modified MS-06G high mobility ground type. She heads out to search for Margaret. Yuki tries to stop her. Hey Yuki means snow in Japanese, and it is currently snowing. There needs to be a name for this type of Japanese cliche. Chris asks Yuki to follow in the Lakota Jeep. The Argos team watches. Gail realizes that her Zaku is specifically designed to hand over the G4 manually in case of an emergency. They decide to still not help her. Yuki struggles to keep up with the Zaku. She finds the backpack and follows the footsteps. Chris starts to have doubts and wonders if Chuck was right. Yuki loses track of Chris and the Zaku. His radar isn't working. There is a high density of Minovsky particles in the area, but they should be in communication range of the base. What is going on, he wonders. In the sky are three fat uncles. They use the call sign Garuda 1, 2, and 3. Really? This was made after Zeta. Why are you purposely naming things to confuse people? So rude. They are also looking for the Gundam. One Zaku pilot on standby talks about buying a farm and equating cows to women. Classy. Chris also notices that Minovsky particle density is at combat level. That is when the fat uncles fall below the clouds and Chris gets eyes on them. A Zaku uses a Gatling gun and fires at Chris from the fat uncle. Chris hides behind the mountains. Yuki notices the fat uncles from afar. Chris only has a heat hawk. There is no way support is coming from the base. The Zakus start firing again. She no longer has cover from the mountains. That is when Chuck comes in with his old gun tank. He fires on the fat uncle and gets a direct hit. He is gloating that he was right about Zeon. The three Zakus drop down from the fat uncle to attack Chris directly. When they land, Chris goes in directly for the attack and slices off one of the Zaku's hands with the heat hawk. She sidekicks the unit and crushes the pilot in his cockpit. Brutal. Another Zaku uses the 120mm machine gun. She bobs and weaves until she finds the Gatling gun that fell out of the fat uncle. She takes aim and tears through another one. The remaining Zaku points a Zaku bazooka at Chris from behind. Chris uses her boosters to do a backflip over the Zaku while firing the Gatling gun, destroying the final unit. That was pretty awesome. Another unit comes out of the fog. It is G4. She yells out to Margaret. She doesn't respond for a moment, but then Margaret gets mad and begins engaging with Chris. Chris is still in denial that Margaret is a spy. Meanwhile, Yuki finally makes it to Chris. Margaret wants her to draw her weapon and fight. Somewhere in the northern hemisphere, Zagakis and Hygogs are being assembled. Garcia looks at the new mobile suits when Misha comes from behind, giving him a hard time while reeking of booze. They have a new mission and head to the mission briefing. The only intel they have received on this Plan G is that it will take place in the North Pole. They are being sparse. Steiner says that rescuing the accountant exhausted their resources. For the rescue, they will be getting the new Zagaki and Hygogs for the upcoming mission. Chris clashes with Margaret in the G4. Margaret says that if she never came, no one would have gotten hurt. The beam saber takes out Chris's Zaku and almost penetrates through her cockpit. This only causes Chris to be knocked out. Somewhere at California base, we We flash back to Margaret running training exercises with her ninja commander. The two engage in close-range combat. Margaret is able to disarm the ninja and hold him back at knife point. He says that she is getting quite good at this. He refers to her as M003. The ninja assigns her to a mission to steal this G4 Gundam being delivered in Montana. She is to meet with their contact who goes by the name Rat, but little intel is known about this person. He tells her to do it for all the people who have died. A few days later, she is being transported with a new batch of test pilots, including Chuck. She wonders if this loudmouth is the Rat. She goes through training and integrates with the Montana base, though she still has no clue who the Rat is. She remembers a moment where Yuki noticed that she isn't a novice pilot. In her cockpit is the message: the weather in December, snow from fall to winter. The Rat uses its mouth to store food. She believes that the Rat may be Yuki. That is when a sniper takes out Margaret. She falls from the G4. The sniper happens to be Yuki, who caught up with Chris. The director comes to the command center, still in his jammies. They're trying to get a handle on what is going on. All they know is that two people have gone AWOL. At the base, they don't really have any functional mobile suits. That was what the new one was for. Gale and the Argos team are still playing pool and just waiting for orders to be given. He wonders how this will play out. Yuki brings back Chuck and an injured Chris in his Lakota Jeep. They bring in medical attention as she is losing a lot of blood. The director is puffing his chest and not accepting that Zeon spies infiltrated their unit under his command. He wants to transfer operations back to Jaburo pending this operation, but he wants to hear what the team has to say. None of them seems to be up to becoming the next test pilot. Yuki stands up and says that they should try to get the G4 back, but Bix's secretary tells him not to speak to his superior that way. You just said you wanted to hear what he had to say. What a dick. That is when Chris comes in demanding that she be the test pilot, even though she technically isn't a part of Montana base. But they talk down to her and suggest that she settle down. Ha, women. As they argue, Gale and the Argos team steps in. He says, okay, I'm gonna stop all of this. Their assignment isn't to babysit this base. They are to get the prototype Gundam up into space ASAP. Director Bix is complaining and making this take longer than it needs. He says that Chris will be the pilot and they are heading out into space. They decide to bring Yuki along with him. At the North Pole, a man is smiling post-coitus. He is excited about the G4 arriving tomorrow. This dude was definitely just thinking about a robot while having sex with that woman. Everywhere, engineers are working on upgrades designed for the G4. Earlier in November, we see Zeon prepping mobile suits, WAPAs, and many support vehicles. Garcia was handling WAPA maintenance while everyone kicks back. He wants a beer, but everyone keeps asking him to fix their WAPA next. Andy is with the Cyclops higher-ups. They have been ordered to abandon Earth and return to the homeland. Andy is mad about how many lives they have lost. They know how he feels, but these orders are absolute. Somewhere in Italy, a fancy pants party is taking place. Coming in late is Major Killing, accompanied by Steiner. The room is full of Zeon sympathizers as they sig that Zeon. It's weird seeing civilians do it. This group in Italy are supporters of Zeon's cause, as they were freed from the Federation rule in that area. They give him a pizza to take back to his men. Killing informs the dignitaries that they will have to pull out of the area for a little bit, but they will be back and in full force. This, of course, is a lie. As the two take their leave, he throws the pizza out of the Jeep and calls it trash. Some people hate Zeon for dropping a colony on Earth. I hate Zeon because they would throw an Italian pizza away. People fight wars for different reasons. Steiner says that the Major barely spoke up at the party. Steiner and Killing seem to be friendly, but the Major reminds Steiner that he is on a need-to-know basis. A squadron with the crest of the Grim Reaper fly through the mountains. They consist of Gunperries, Fly Mantas, and Core Fighters. The Gunperries open up, dropping gems and gun cannons hidden in camo. As they touch down, the Cyclops team realizes that they are already here. They notice 6 mobile suits 15 kilometers out. Miguel tries to wake up a drunk Misha. Steiner and Killing rush over and inform them that they are taking the Zanzibar and heading into space. They should focus on loading the bare minimum. A lot of the men want to stay behind and help the people who depend on them. But Steiner simply says that orders are absolute. 2 gun cannons begin firing around the fancy party. They are informed that mobile suits will be dispatched and they can use the weapons that they were given by Zeon. The Italians are now rebels fighting against EFF with these weapons. Steiner and their men need an hour to load, but Killing gives them 10 minutes. The pride of the Cyclops team is on the line. Meanwhile, Misha is drinking and piloting piloting a mobile suit. EFF and the rebels start fighting. This is exactly what Killing was trying to do, have them kill off each other. Steiner finds it cowardly to involve civilians in this. They follow through with their orders as Misha gets drunker and drunker. The GMs and gun cannons take out Italy's rebels with ease. They didn't stand a chance. It was a massacre. A man named Serhi doesn't want to go out like a coward and wants to protect the area and not use the Italian rebels as a shield. He goes it alone. If he continues, Killing will certainly court-martial him. Alexander tells them not to go, but a few head out to the battle anyways. They want Misha to stop the two, but he is passed out. Killing overhears this and says that's a court-martial and instantly points his gun at Steiner. Killing takes the gun and points it at his own head. He says that Alexander lost his wife and son. He goes on listing all his men who lost family members. He says he will sacrifice his own life to avenge them. And he says, "Commander, you need to take a few deep breaths. Calm down." He lost himself in the moment there. He wants the Cyclops team to return to Granada. The Zaku's are being destroyed by EFF. Serhi is on his own as he pushes in towards EFF. He is able to take out a gym. Steiner takes over for Alexander as he, Andy, and Killing meet up with Garcia. They get the last shipment they have been waiting for to put on the shuttle. Killing is excited for this. He tells them that while stationed on Earth, they came across nuclear weapons that were stockpiled. Killing says this was before the Federation, in the old century. They are stealing Earth's nukes and taking it back to Granada with them. That is Cyclops' true mission. Igor, Volody, Anditch, and Argyle are still on the battlefield looking for Serhi. The captain says he has a plan, but it is going to involve some people not making it out of here alive. They go into attack. A gym attacks one of the Zaku's. Luckily, it doesn't take out the reactor. However, an explosion goes off anyways. It is a group of WAPA pilots coming in to help. The WAPA team left under Steiner's orders. Since they are going along with them on the shuttle, they are taking them out to fight. Many have the spirits to help in the area. While the mobile suits keep them busy, the WAPAs will do what we saw the 908th and Quadron do during our coverage of Iron Mustang. Plant sticky bombs all over the Gundam. The gun cannons take off their camo and take out one of the WAPAs. Another one goes down. They head into the mountains when another Zaku comes in to help them. It is Serhi. They aren't able to penetrate the lunar titanium armor of the gun tank. The Zaku is unable to get close to them. He throws a cracker grenade and jumps out of the smoke and uses his beam blade, but the gun tanks are able to block his attack and throw him off guard. They go in to kill Serhi, but an explosion goes off. It is Misha and his Zaku cannon. His cannon is getting warped, so he only has one more shot left. He fires and hits the gun cannon and the Zaku. Serhi calls Misha a drunk asshole for friendly fire. He gets out and sees the gym pilot. He begins a detonation countdown set to 3 minutes. As he runs away, one of the WAPA pilots picks him up and they make their escape.
At that moment, a nuke goes off.
Everyone regroups and are glad they are still alive. A Zanzibar is ready to launch for everyone who remained behind. As they wait, many believe that they would be better suited for life on Earth. Even Suhi makes excuses claiming he can't head back into space with all his injuries. Killing lied and left the people of Italy to their own demise. But with many of the Cyclops team staying, it is safe to assume this area will be just fine. The Zanzibar takes off. As the Cyclops team leaves Earth atmosphere, they notice something heading their direction. It barely misses them, but they notice it is one of Killing's nukes that they stole. The nuke heads down, taking out the town of Italy, killing the people they watched over and the soldiers they just left behind. Misha passes around his flask so the rest of the men could get drunk after witnessing that. And that will do it for this episode. In War in the Pocket OVA, Steiner refers to himself as a dead man and recognizes there is no coming back from Operation Rubicon. After being under command of Killing, you kinda see why Steiner feels that way. Killing is a great example of a commander losing the war and trying any means necessary to keep the power they have. Next time, the Cyclops team head to Antarctica and make their attack. There are a few more chapters, but we will have to wait to see if this manga ever picks up again before moving forward. But that will do it for now, new types. Remember, the more one loses power, the more one's desires to use nukes increases. Peace.